You may think The Amazing World of Gumball is a flawless 10 out of 10 kids show, but what if I told you there are 7 episodes that might completely change your mind? Episodes so uncomfortable, confusing, or just downright mean-spirited that they make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the show. Let's start with the first one. The Amazing World of Gumball often thrives on awkward humor, but sometimes it ventures into territory that feels more uncomfortable than amusing. The Girlfriend is one such episode that has sparked discussions among fans. The episode begins with Jamie, the school bully, seeking a boyfriend after a conversation with Alan, who suggests she might have an empty heart. Jamie sets her sights on Darwin, who, being polite and naive, doesn't immediately reject her advances. Gumball, ever the instigator, encourages Darwin to go along with it, leading to a series of events where Jamie becomes increasingly possessive and aggressive. She isolates Darwin from his friends, misinterprets his actions, and reacts violently to perceived slights. Throughout the episode, Darwin is visibly uncomfortable, but his passive nature prevents him from confronting Jamie directly. Gumball's attempts to help often backfire, exacerbating the situation. Why some viewers found it controversial. 1. Portrayal of coercion as comedy. Jamie's aggressive behavior towards Darwin, including threats and physical intimidation, is played for laughs. This portrayal can be unsettling, as it trivializes issues of consent and emotional manipulation. 2. Lack of resolution. The episode concludes with Darwin ending up in the infirmary after being punched by Jamie. There's no clear resolution or lesson learned, leaving some viewers dissatisfied with the narrative arc. 3. Character dynamics. Gumball's role as an enabler rather than a supportive friend and Darwin's lack of agency throughout the episode have been points of contention among fans who expect more depth and growth from the characters. Fan reactions. Discussions on fan forums and social media platforms have highlighted The Girlfriend as one of the more uncomfortable episodes of the series. While some appreciate the show's attempt at dark humor, others feel it missed the mark, failing to balance comedy with sensitivity. The Worst, Season 5, Episode 33. This episode of The Amazing World of Gumball is frequently cited by fans as one of the series' most disliked episodes. The episode centers on the Watterson family returning home after each experiencing a challenging day. They engage in a debate over who had the worst day, leading to a series of exaggerated flashbacks that highlight their individual misfortunes. To settle the debate, they decide to swap roles for a day. Nicole becomes a man, Gumball and Darwin become women, Aeneas becomes an adult, and Richard becomes a child. Each experiences the challenges of their new roles, leading to humorous and exaggerated situations. Despite its attempt at humor, the episode received criticism for its mean-spirited tone and lack of resolution. Viewers felt the episode's humor was excessively harsh, with family members being unusually cruel to one another. The lack of the show's typical warmth made the episode uncomfortable for some fans. Unlike other episodes that conclude with a lesson or reconciliation, The Worst ends without any meaningful resolution. The family's conflicts remain unresolved, leaving a sour taste for many viewers. Fans also noted that the characters acted out of character, especially in their willingness to belittle each other's experiences. This departure from their usual dynamics was jarring and off-putting. On the Gumball fandom wiki, a user described the episode as a torture episode, and it was pretty awful and cruel. Everyone clearly turns on the entire family just because they keep ruining their lives. Another fan review stated, "This episode is extremely obnoxious and everything it does ticks the viewer off at a personal level." While the episode holds a 7.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb, it's important to note that this is relatively low compared to other episodes in the series, which often score above 8.0. The combination of its mean-spirited tone and lack of resolution contributes to its reputation as the most hated episode among fans. In summary, The Worst attempted to explore the challenges faced by different family members through role swapping, but fell short due to its harsh tone, lack of character development, and absence of a satisfying conclusion. These factors have led to its unfavorable reception among the show's fan base. The Amazing World of Gumball often uses humor to explore real family dynamics, but the hero stands out for mixing slapstick with an emotional gut punch, and it left many fans feeling more uncomfortable than amused. What happens in the episode? It all starts when Gumball and Darwin realize something painfully obvious. Their dad Richard Watterson isn't exactly a role model. From his lazy habits to his immature behavior, he constantly embarrasses them in public. After one humiliating episode at the supermarket, the boys decide to go looking for a better hero figure. They compare Richard to other men in Elmore, Rocky, Larry, Mr. Small, and each time, Richard falls short. What begins as a comedic critique soon turns mean-spirited. The tipping point? Gumball and Darwin straight up tell Richard they don't see him as a hero. At first, it seems like just another exaggerated gag, but then Richard breaks. He becomes genuinely depressed, isolates himself in his room, and removes the cheerful smiley face badge he always wears, replacing it with a sad frown. The man who's usually the loudest goofball in the house goes completely silent. Even the boys are stunned by how deeply their words cut. Eventually, Gumball and Darwin come to realize how important their dad really is. Not because he's perfect, but because he's always there for them. They stage an over-the-top heroic rescue to win him back. Why some fans found it harsh. It humiliates a beloved character. While Richard is often the punchline of jokes, this episode felt unusually cruel in its portrayal of him. Some viewers felt the mockery went too far, especially given his sincere emotional response. Emotional whiplash. The shift from comedy to sadness happens fast, and for some, it felt jarring. What started as goofy fun turned into a scene of real emotional neglect. Hard truths in a funny show. The idea of kids rejecting their parent for not being heroic enough hit close to home for some, even if the show eventually course-corrected. Fan reactions. On fan forums and Reddit, the hero is often discussed for its tonal contrast. Some praised the episode for showing a different side of Richard. Others felt the humor went a bit too dark, making audiences feel bad for laughing. Either way, the hero left a strong impression. It reminds us that even in the world of Gumball's animated absurdity, real feelings still matter. The Amazing World of Gumball is no stranger to bizarre social commentary disguised as absurd comedy, and The Slap is a perfect example. This episode dives headfirst into physical awkwardness, social boundaries, and the desperate need for validation, all through the lens of one truly uncomfortable greeting. The story begins with Tobias introducing a new friendship ritual, a dramatic high five followed by a hearty slap on the butt. Most of the boys in school go along with it, and it's weird, sure, but it's treated like an inside joke among them. But when it's Gumball's turn, Tobias only gives him a high five and skips the butt slap. This small omission spirals into a full-blown crisis for Gumball. He becomes obsessed with earning Tobias's full greeting, interpreting the lack of the second half as a sign of exclusion or personal rejection. What follows is classic Gumball absurdity. Gumball stalks Tobias, tries to engineer situations where the slap will happen, and even dreams about it. The more he tries, the more awkward things become, and the less Tobias wants to engage with him at all. Eventually, Gumball corners Tobias in the locker room, pushing the boundaries of what's socially acceptable in a scene many viewers found deeply uncomfortable. Instead of receiving the slap, Gumball ends up getting slapped in the face. A final comedic reversal that still doesn't solve his craving for approval. Why it sparked controversy. First, weird focus on physical contact. The episode revolves around butt slapping, and while it's played for laughs, the physical nature of the gag didn't sit well with everyone. Some fans felt the writers leaned too hard into the awkwardness without enough narrative payoff. 2. Boundary and consent concerns. Although it's exaggerated, Gumball's obsessive pursuit of a physical gesture he wasn't offered led some viewers to question the message around respecting others' boundaries, even in a silly cartoon context. Third, uncomfortable comedy. Much like cringe humor in The Office or Rick and Morty, the slap makes you laugh while also making you squirm. For some, that's genius. For others, it was a misfire. Some fans praised the episode's willingness to get experimental and uncomfortable, pointing out that Gumball often thrives on crossing lines. Others, however, saw it as a rare example of the show pushing into territory that didn't feel justified by the punchlines. The Triangle, Season 3, Episode 39 of The Amazing World of Gumball is often remembered for its surprisingly sharp tone and unresolved tension between characters. While intended to be comedic, it drew criticism from fans for how it handled blame and friendship dynamics. IMDb rating, 7.2 out of 10, based on over 900 user reviews. Viewer reviews on IMDb highlight several concerns. One user described it as the worst episode of Tawwag, criticizing Darwin's uncharacteristically arrogant behavior and the unjust treatment of Gumball. Another reviewer labeled it a Gumball torture episode, expressing frustration over the lack of resolution and the mean-spirited tone. The episode opens at Elmore Junior High, where students receive their instruments for the school marching band. Gumball is assigned the triangle, while Darwin gets the Swanee whistle. To everyone's surprise, Darwin plays beautifully and earns the solo part, replacing Leslie. Gumball tries to play it cool, but his jealousy bubbles up through sarcastic remarks and exaggerated support. Darwin notices the tension and becomes increasingly uneasy. As Darwin prepares for his solo, Leslie advises him to imagine the audience naked, a tip that backfires when Mr. Small bends over in front of him mid-rehearsal. Later, Darwin's whistle fills with gum and produces a comedic bubble that pops in his face. Principal Brown finds the gum and, without solid evidence, blames Gumball, citing his name as the reason. Gumball is kicked out of the band. Determined to clear his name, Gumball disguises himself as the school mascot, Archie the Duck, and investigates the crime. He soon discovers that Leslie, upset about losing his solo spot, was the one who sabotaged Darwin's whistle out of jealousy. During the actual performance, Darwin succumbs to stage fright and delivers a shaky solo, ending in boos from the audience. Despite this, Gumball and Leslie remain in the crowd, silently showing their support. Why some fans disliked it? Uncharacteristic behavior. Some fans felt Darwin was too quick to believe Gumball was guilty, a departure from his usual trust and empathy. Unfair authority. Principal Brown's immediate accusation and punishment of Gumball based on circumstantial evidence frustrated viewers. Mean-spirited humor. The tone of the episode was seen by some as harsh, with Gumball being humiliated and receiving little redemption on screen. No clear resolution. Although Leslie admits his fault, there's no scene that fully resolves the conflict between Gumball, Darwin, and the band, leaving things emotionally open-ended. The Amazing World of Gumball is renowned for its offbeat humor and satirical take on everyday life. In the episode titled The Lady, the show delves into themes of identity and societal perceptions through a series of humorous events. The episode begins with a comedic mishap at Elmore Junior High, where the staff consumes what they believe are candies, only to discover they're actually candles, leading to mass hallucinations and the temporary closure of the school. With a day off, Gumball and Darwin return home, only to encounter a mysterious woman who quickly retreats upon seeing them. Richard, their father, appears shortly after with red lipstick smeared on his face, claiming it's from eating a red vegetable and that the woman was his personal trainer. Suspicious, the boys follow Richard to the mall, where they witness him purchasing perfume. Their curiosity deepens when they spot the same woman, now identified as Samantha, socializing with a group of elderly ladies. It's revealed that Samantha is actually Richard in disguise, seeking companionship and acceptance. The episode parodies classic sitcoms, complete with laugh tracks and stylized visuals, as Richard navigates his dual identity. Eventually, Gumball and Darwin confront their father, leading to a series of comedic revelations and heartfelt moments. Why fans disliked it. 1. It aged poorly. When it first aired in 2016, the cross-dressing trope was already starting to fall out of favor. What might have once been viewed as a silly misunderstanding is now seen as outdated at best, and tone-deaf at worst. Many fans took issue with how the episode played Richard's disguise for laughs in a way that felt more mocking than funny. 2. Mixed messaging. The episode tries to explore gender dynamics, like whether women have it easier than men, but never commits to a real message. It dabbles in stereotypes without unpacking them, resulting in a muddled story that doesn't really say anything beyond "look how ridiculous Richard looks in a dress." Fan reactions, Reddit threads, and YouTube breakdowns often rank The Lady among Gumball's most disliked episodes. Viewers called it tone-deaf, lazy, and a mess. Even those who normally enjoy Richard's over-the-top antics found this episode exhausting. It's not that cross-dressing itself is inherently offensive. Context and intent matter, but The Lady felt like a relic of comedy past, where the gag was the cross-dressing rather than what it meant. And in a show known for its clever writing, that let a lot of fans down. The Amazing World of Gumball has never been afraid to get weird. In fact, its offbeat sense of humor and surreal animation style are what made it stand out in the first place. But there's a fine line between creative and confusing, and Season 4, Episode 31, The Night, left a lot of fans scratching their heads. The night is framed entirely around the idea of what happens while the Wattersons are asleep. Instead of following Gumball or Darwin, the episode explores the nighttime adventures and dreams of secondary and background characters across Elmore. It's an anthology format. We get dream segments from Banana Joe, Principal Brown, Alan, Carmen, Tobias, and even Tina Rex. Each short dream sequence is surreal, animated in a variety of art styles, and often ends abruptly or nonsensically. For example, Gumball dreams of falling from space, hitting various objects on his descent, and waking up just before impact. Mr. Small, despite his initial excitement about the limitless possibilities of dreams, he finds himself trapped in a confined space, highlighting his claustrophobia. Banana Joe experiences a dream where he splits into two versions of himself, leading to a comedic chase. Nicole enjoys a peaceful beach setting until Richard's snoring disrupts her tranquility. Richard imagines himself as dough being kneaded into a bun, a play on his character's love for food. Why fans disliked it? 1. It abandons the main cast. Gumball and Darwin barely appear in this episode. While it's interesting to give other characters the spotlight, many viewers tune in for the Wattersons. Without them, the episode felt more like a sketch show than part of the larger narrative. 2nd, no cohesive plot. Because it's a string of disconnected dream sequences, there's no central storyline to follow. That made the episode feel random for the sake of being random, lacking the emotional core or clever resolution that Gumball usually excels at. Fan reactions. In YouTube comment sections and Reddit discussions, the night is often described as bizarre, pointless, or a visual fever dream. While some praised its ambition and willingness to try something different, many viewers ranked it among the show's weakest episodes. Ironically, some people found themselves enjoying the art styles more than the content. The episode's surreal tone reminded fans of shows like Adventure Time or Over the Garden Wall, but without the same narrative depth. In the end, the night isn't hated because it's offensive or poorly made. It's hated because it left fans confused, disconnected, and wishing they had just skipped it altogether.